Can you imagine the servers of justice turning into mafia? In this video we will talk about how judges, lawyers, and police are the worst trio and acting as mafia. But before starting this video, make sure to subscribe our YouTube channel, to watch more interesting videos like this. Police as mafia finally. After an unforgettable week in which America, already reeling from the brutal caught-on-video Minneapolis police killing of George Floyd, on top of a pandemic, a recession, and everything watched with dropped jaw, literally dozens of videos of police clubbing, shoving, or driving into peaceful protesters, or tear-gassing them, and even maiming some for life with rubber bullets, some officers are finally standing up and declaring, "I quit." The problem is, the 57 members of the Police Riot Response Unit in Buffalo, New York, who resigned. To be clear, these cops aren't giving up their jobs, pay, or benefits, but rather shirking their assignment to a special unit, on Saturday weren't opposing the shocking brutality in their ranks, but tacitly supporting it. They are instead protesting the local prosecutor who viewed a viral video of two Buffalo cops in full RoboCop attire violently shoving a 75-year-old peace activist to the pavement, and cracking his skull, and reached the same conclusion as the rest of America. He charged them with a criminal assault. The almost unshakable influence of police unions in American civic life, and especially in big cities, has been building at least a half-century, mainly since the aftermath of urban unrest in the 1960s and 70s, but the 6 years since the Black Lives Matter movement emerged from the ashes of Ferguson, Mo, have finally brought the issue into sharper focus. Not only is the public now seeing cell phone videos of police brutality, but it's learning that many of these cops have been the subject of multiple complaints, yet protected by union rules or arbitration from any meaningful discipline. What's more, the mild reforms from America's first black president, Barack Obama, the election of progressive mayors and prosecutors like Philadelphia's Larry Krasner, and the rise of Donald Trump endorsed in 2016 by many of these unions, has heightened a paranoid style and an embrace of authoritarianism by cop union leaders. Closer to home in Delaware County, a police sergeant in the county seat of Media, and vice president of the county police union, is reportedly on administrative leave, after a bizarre episode with a local shopkeeper who voiced support on Facebook for Black Lives Matter, only to see Sergeant Robert "Skippy" Carroll reply from the official FOP account, "If you choose to speak out against the police or our members, we will do everything in our power to not support your business," later adding on his own personal Facebook page, "Try us, we'll destroy you." This was how police is acting like mafia. Lawyers as mafia. Here's our list of top 5 mob lawyers. 1. David Breitbart. Breitbart has seen it all during his 40-plus years as a lawyer. He defended some of the biggest names in the world of organized crime, including Bonanno crime family boss Joseph Massino, before he decided to become a government witness, and drug lord Nicky Barnes. It was his work for Barnes, especially, that earned him a 5-star reputation among gangsters. Better yet, after one particular huge success for the New York drug boss, the group threw him a party and named him an honorary nigger. 2. Frank Regano. Frank Regano was from the old school. He defended mobsters when they still ran much of the country. Men like Santo Trafficante Jr. and Carlos Marcello, and Union Big Jimmy Hoffa. Back when JFK was shot and it seemed feasible that La Cosa Nostra was in on the hit. Did I say feasible? According to Regano, the mob definitely whacked the President of the United States. He claimed that a few days before his death in 1987, Florida mob boss Santo Trafficante Jr. confessed to him that he and New Orleans Mafia leader Carlos Marcello had arranged the murder. It was a mistake, Trafficante confided. Carlos Marcello screwed up, he allegedly said. "We shouldn't have killed John. We should have killed Bobby Kennedy." 3. Gerald Shargel. Gerald Shargel is the go-to guy for many of America's top crime bosses, and unanimously regarded as one of the country's best defense attorneys. The New Yorker once described him as the finest of his generation. In 1990, he was supposed to represent Salvatore Gravano at his racketeering trial alongside co-defendant John Gotti, but when Gravano turned state's evidence, the plan changed, and Shargel joined Team Gotti and faced Gravano head-on. More recently, Shargel is known for defending hip-hop bigwigs like Murder Inc. record label owners Irv and Chris Gotti. That's not their real name, they just borrowed it from John Gotti to gain some street credibility, and crime boss turned music mogul James "Jimmy" Henchman Rosamond. He won acquittals for the fake Gotti brothers, but saw Rosamond go to prison for life on racketeering charges. Win some, lose some. 4. Bruce Cutler Saul is known for his charm and charisma in the courtroom. But even he would be blown away by the whirlwind that is Bruce Cutler. There is nothing Cutler can't or won't do to defend his clients. He is best known for standing tall next to, and in front of infamous Gambino crime family mob boss John Gotti Sr., and getting him acquitted at 3 separate trials. His successes in court earned Gotti the nickname, Teflon Don. Gotti was eventually convicted at a 4th trial, from which Cutler was thrown off. Whether it was Cutler's absence, or Gotti's underboss, Sammy the Bull, Gravano's damning testimony is up for debate, but Gotti was found guilty and spent the rest of his life in prison. Cutler continues to work as an attorney but has spread his wings outside the courtroom, as well, appearing in television shows and movies. 5. Oscar Goodman. With Saul Goodman it is all about the hustle. The only thing is, he ain't that good at it. His cons are small. He never thinks big. A man who always thinks big is Oscar Goodman. He defended the most notorious mob bosses in America, chief among them Chicago outfit mobster and Las Vegas kingpin Anthony, the Ant, Spilatro. Spilatro was one of the most violent and deadly gangsters out there, but was kept out of prison throughout his storied Las Vegas career thanks to the hard work of his trusted lawyer Goodman. Goodman even played himself in the movie Casino, sharing screen time with Hollywood stars Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, who portrayed Spilatro in the film. Saul Goodman would have been satisfied with such a career. Not Oscar Goodman though. He hadn't lived up to his potential quite yet and went on to become mayor of the city of Las Vegas. That's right, he ended up becoming the boss of the whole damn town. A lawyer conducts research on legal issues and is qualified to interpret laws, regulations, and rulings. But today's lawyers are themselves acting as mafia, and doing illegal practices and defending them in the courts. Judges as mafia, Jakarta, Indonesia. They have long worked illegally in the shadows of Indonesia's police stations, attorney general's office and courts, the common link in what is called Indonesia's judicial mafia. Called Marquesas, they are middlemen who can persuade corrupt police officers, prosecutors and judges to drop a case against a client for the right amount of money. The Marquesas gained national attention last month, after they were featured prominently in wiretaps involving a long-running battle between the nation's law enforcement agencies and anti-corruption officials. With that leap into unaccustomed and unwanted prominence, they were transformed overnight into symbols of this country's broken justice system. President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono said that he would make eradicating the judicial mafia of Marquesas and corrupt officials a priority of his second term. Indonesians, who in the past were aware only dimly, if at all, of the Marquesas, are now urged to report wrongdoing to the government by mailing, in envelopes marked with the message Ganyang Mafia, or just Crush the Mafia. But lawyers, officials and watchdog groups warn that uprooting the so-called judicial mafia will require an overhaul of the country's law enforcement and justice systems. They say that Mr. Yudhoyono, who shies away from confrontation, is unlikely to push through changes inside the nation's powerful police force, attorney general's office and courts, institutions, that are considered among Indonesia's most corrupt. Kuntoro Mangku Subroto, the leader of a new presidential task force to reform the justice system, said Indonesia's criminal justice system was fertile ground for middlemen representing moneyed clients. We want to have a system that is fair for everybody, not dependent on whether he or she has power or money, Mr. Mangku Subroto said in an interview, adding that cleaning up the current system would take years. What shocked most Indonesians was not the brazenness of the speakers, but the fact that the practices mentioned in the wiretaps seemed routine. By contrast, Indonesians without money have seemed increasingly at the mercy of a legal system that metes out severe punishment for seemingly harmless offenses. There is no normative standard of punishment in this country, said Adnan Bayang Nasution, 75, one of Indonesia's most prominent lawyers. The punishment is very heavy in some cases, very light in others. That's why people are disgusted at the justice system. The investigation, prosecution, and judgment of a particular case follow rules dictated less by the law than by the free market of the middlemen. It depends on how much money you have, said Mr. Nasution, who recently led a presidential advisory group that recommended far-reaching changes in the country's law enforcement agencies. He added, each stage, the police, the Attorney General's office, the courts, has its Marquesas. But there are Marquesas that are so dominant, they can arrange everything in one package. In India, author Ravi Srimanarayana published a book named Judges Mafia. This book is the author*s open letter to the Indian Parliament regarding rampant corruption in the judiciary of Andhra Pradesh in particular and of the country in general. This is how defenders of peace are destroying peace. For watching more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button before leaving.